The studio lights were colder that night. Too bright, too quiet, almost surgical. It wasn't the kind of atmosphere anyone expected from a talk show built on laughter, applause, and easy charm. But beneath the glossy floor and polished jokes, something darker was brewing. The audience didn't know it yet. Neither did the host. But the 7 guests waiting backstage were about to turn a harmless television segment into one of the most unsettling nights in broadcast history. It all began when the cameras rolled and the applause sign flickered on. Slower than usual, like a warning. The host smiled, but it wasn't steady. There was tension in his jaw, a flicker in his eyes, as if he already sensed something was off. The curtain rose. The show began. And the first guest stepped out. Guest 1, the fallen hero. He walked with the confidence of a legend, a man once adored, once unstoppable. But the camera didn't lie. His eyes were hollow, haunted by failures he never planned to admit. When the host asked about his glory days, he didn't laugh. Instead, he spoke about fame like it was a curse, how the applause became a craving, how silence turned into punishment, and how in the end, the world forgot him before he could forget himself. The room shifted. You could feel it, an uneasiness, a realization. The hero wasn't heroic anymore. He was broken. And the audience, once eager to cheer, now sat frozen. The host forced a smile, but something had cracked. The darkness had entered. Guest 2, the hidden betrayal. She arrived wrapped in elegance, diamonds glinting under the studio lights. But her beauty was a mask. The moment she spoke, she confessed, not about a scandal in the tabloids, but about a betrayal no one saw coming. She revealed how she destroyed someone she loved, not out of anger, but out of jealousy. Her voice didn't tremble. She didn't apologize. She almost seemed relieved. The truth wasn't emotional, it was chilling. The host shifted in his seat. The audience sucked in a breath. For the first time, the show didn't feel like entertainment. It felt like a confession chamber. Guest 3, the silent monster. No one knew why he'd been invited. He wasn't funny, charming, or beloved. He barely spoke. But the silence was louder than any story. When the host tried to pry answers out of him, he simply stared, unblinking, almost amused. Finally, he leaned forward and whispered one sentence. People don't fear the truth. They fear being exposed by it. A chill spread through the room. The host swallowed hard. The audience shifted in their seats. It felt like the walls had closed in. This wasn't a show anymore. It was a descent. Guest 4, the laugh nobody trusted. He came out laughing, loud and unhinged, trying to lighten the tension. But the laughter didn't soothe anyone, it sharpened the fear. His jokes weren't funny. They were desperate. He talked about partying his way through fame, destroying friendships, sabotaging co-stars, burning every bridge he ever crossed, and smiling while he did it. His final line landed like a punch. If you can't be loved, be feared. No one laughed back. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something directly. Backhand index pointing right. If you were sitting in that studio, watching this unfold, would you stay and witness the darkness, or walk out before it swallowed you too? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. Guest 5, the survivor. When she entered, the energy shifted again. Not lighter, just different. She spoke softly, but the pain behind her words was sharp. She described years spent under someone else's control, hidden contracts, silenced truths, secrets buried to protect reputations that were never worth protecting. But unlike the others, she didn't break. She didn't crumble. She survived. And her final message wasn't bitter, it was chillingly honest. The industry doesn't destroy you. It convinces you to destroy yourself. The audience stared stunned, realizing they were no longer watching performers. They were watching people stripped raw. Guest 6, the warning. He stepped out like a man carrying a weight no one could see. He spoke about power, real power, the kind held behind locked doors, whispered in boardrooms, traded by people whose names we never hear. He said fame was only the curtain. The real control was hidden. The studio fell silent as he leaned into the microphone and said, "Everything you adore was designed. And everything you fear was allowed." The host didn't know how to respond. For the first time, he looked scared, not of the guests, but of what they represented. Truth. Corruption. Darkness. Guest 7, the final blow. The last guest didn't enter with fanfare. No applause. No music. Just quiet footsteps. He wasn't famous anymore, just a shadow of who he used to be. And he told the story no one expected, how the industry lifted him up, praised him, used him, and discarded him once he was no longer profitable. His voice cracked as he said, "They didn't end my career. They erased me. There was no reaction. No gasp. No applause. Just silence that felt heavier than any sound. And then he delivered the line that ended the night. This show isn't entertainment. It's a funeral for the truth. The host couldn't speak. The cameras cut. The lights died. And history was sealed. That episode never aired again. No reruns. No clips. No explanation. Just rumors, whispers that something happened that night the world wasn't meant to see. 7 guests. 7 confessions. One unforgettable descent into the darkest corners of fame. Some say the truth shook the network. Others say it broke the host. But everyone agrees on one thing. The show was never the same after that night. And neither were the people who witnessed it.